From its potential to finally immerse fans into the supernatural corner of Marvel canon, to the interesting direction that the MCU could take once it's released, the upcoming Blade film has endless possibilities in store. But you'll never guess what some theories are suggesting. If the rumors are true, Blade could meet Doctor Strange. Now, a few of you might be scratching your heads here.
Mr. Strange.
Steven, please. And you are?
Wow.
Just Wong? Like Adele?
Sure, Doctor Strange is known to pop up now and again. He was a core part of Spider-Man No Way Home after all, and he's kinda become the successor to Tony Stark in that he's the experienced voice of wisdom. But even so, Blade is supposed to be about vampires.
You're too late, Blade.
And while Strange is definitely a bridge between the supernatural and sci-fi elements of the franchise, it's tough to see how he'd fit in here. But there's actually some pretty sound logic behind this theory, and it all has to do with a character related to Strange that we've never seen before. You see, Doctor Strange actually has a brother in the comics. It's easy to see why no one's heard of him. After all, most Marvel fans these days focus on the movies, and only the true diehards would have the faintest clue as to what's happening in the comics. In case you're more of a movie fan than a comics fan, let me fill you in real quick. In the Marvel comics, Stephen Strange has a brother by the name of Victor, who tragically dies due to an unfortunate series of events. Given that Strange happens to be the Sorcerer Supreme, aka the most powerful magic user in the entire universe, he was bound to try and pull a few strings and bring his brother back to life. However, if there's one thing we can say about Doctor Strange, it's that he tends to bite off more than he can chew. He doesn't fully understand the powers he's in command of just yet, so he makes a few mistakes here or there, and that's just what happens when he tries to revive his brother.
Are you happy, Stephen? What? Are you happy, Stephen?
Strange succeeds in returning his brother to the land of the living, but there's a catch. He didn't just breathe new life into the deceased. That's just not possible, even in a universe as crazy as Marvel canon. Instead, he draws powers from the vampire-verse, which is a part of the multiverse that's full of vampires, believe it or not. So even though Victor Strange comes back to life, he's not the man he used to be, cause he's a straight-up bloodthirsty vampire now. And you can imagine the kind of turmoil this sets up. So considering that Doctor Strange has a vampire for a brother in the comics, that alone makes it probable that the pair of siblings could show up in the upcoming Blade films. But there's a lot more to it than that. Comics nerds and fans of the original films already know about his arch-nemesis. The vampire-human hybrid known as Blade goes after the creatures of the night, and his main rival is an exceptionally powerful vampire known as Baron Blood. This is a name that's been taken up by a number of characters in the Marvel Universe, but one of the most famous people behind the mask is none other than Victor Strange. Yep, you heard that right. Blade's arch-nemesis, the guy that gives him more trouble than any other villain in his rogues gallery, is Stephen Strange's deceased brother.
So I did those Stevens a favor. You ever had that dream where you're falling as if you've been pushed off a tall building? That was probably me.
He actually gives up the title later on and becomes more of an anti-hero. But either way, it'd make a ton of sense if we see the Sorcerer Supreme meeting Blade. There's even more to it than that. The MCU's getting way more comfortable showing us the supernatural side of things. So far, most Marvel superheroes have had sci-fi origins. Iron Man created a suit of superpowered armor. Captain America got his powers from a military-grade strength serum. Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive spider, and the Hulk got blasted with gamma rays that gave him a bit of a short temper. The recurring theme here is a fictional set of scientific rules, but Blade comes from a completely different direction. Everything about the character screams supernatural, and the movie centered around the character won't be the first supernatural story in the MCU either. A recent show called Werewolf by Night revealed that vampires have existed for hundreds of years. Mind you, this is confirmed confirmed canon. The show was meant to add a new dimension to the MCU's story elements, setting the stage for a Blade film in the process. All of this makes me think that the MCU is going to be leaning heavily on the whole vampire angle, at least for a while, which makes it all the more likely that Strange's vampire brother could show his face too. Now, there's no way to confirm whether or not this will happen, cause even though Blade's been in production since way back in 2019, we don't know much about the details of the plot, cause from what the writers have said, the Blade movie's gonna show us the character's origin story. That seems like a pretty straightforward way to approach the film, cause unlike Spider-Man, Batman, and a bunch of other superheroes who have gotten multiple adaptations, Blade's only ever had the Wesley Snipes version coming to the big screen. So this isn't quite the same as a few other done-to-death superhero origins that we've seen a million times before. The thing is, origin stories usually don't have the space to reveal a hero's ultimate bad guy. They usually focus on mid-tier members of the rogue gallery, leaving the big guns for a later film. So maybe we won't get to see this stunning Doctor Strange twist anytime soon. But then again, there have been plenty more hints that suggest it could very well happen, like that post-credits scene from the Eternals. Look, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend you guys haven't seen this disaster of a film, and even if you did, I highly doubt you stuck around for the post-credits scene, but that's why you've got me. Once the credits for the Eternals finished rolling, Kit Harington's character is shown trying to decide whether or not to pick up a mystical sword. As he gets closer, a mysterious voice from an unseen character asks him if he's ready for what he's about to do. We now know that the voice belongs to Blade, which is kinda unfortunate cause nobody paid much attention to that film. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that the post-credits scene was the best part, cause it's setting up an exciting new storyline that could bring Victor Strange into the mix. Most people won't know this, but Kit Harington's playing a character by the name of Black Knight. He's a relatively unknown Marvel character who's known to dabble in the occult, and that puts him in direct conflict with Blade from time to time. Now, you might be wondering what this has to do with Strange's brother. Well, it all has to do with a superhero team known as the Midnight Suns. This is an Avengers-level team that comprises superheroes who are on the more supernatural end of the spectrum, namely Blade, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, and more. Black Knight is also a part of this team, and Doctor Strange also acts as a temporary member, kinda like Batman does for the Justice League. This gives the writers yet another reason to bring Strange into the Blade storyline, and his brother might get set up as the villain that the Midnight Suns will have to take down. This is all pure speculation, of course, but there's just too much evidence pointing to it, and I'll be surprised if neither Doctor Strange nor his brother have something to do with Blade. With that, that's all from me on MCU's Blade featuring a shocking Doctor Strange twist.